Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, February 18th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Another round of late day selling in the previous session here led to a big stop run day down, closed on lows, and that would suggest that any early morning strength be sold for a shot at late day weakness yet again. We've seen selling pressure here over the last hour already, but if prices can't hold again this area of support here, which has kind of held a little bit since the pullback here, any failure here could really open up quite a bit more weakness heading into next week's trading. Again, this has been a very headline risk dominated market right now with many different headline risks out there that are putting pressure on the market. We have a 3-day holiday weekend heading into the U.S. Holiday on Monday, and again that could lead to a risk off situation. So again, any failure to hold 43.50 here opens up a bit more downside up ahead, and that could ultimately lead to a major test of this key range low next week. And if we get a major test of prices below that key range low, that will offer an opportunity to watch for significant rejection back up the range. All right, let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ right now seeing weakness as well off of the highs of the day, seeing selling pressure over the recent hour. Again, this is a market right here that continues to see just kind of a rounded behavior, lower highs, continues to honor the lower value relationship of the pivot range, and in the previous session was not able to hold above that previous low, instead running right through its stop run day down. That would tend to mean any morning strength this morning is met with weakness for late day weakness. If we have another round of late day weakness on a Friday here, that could be very telling again heading into next week. We may see a risk off situation, and that could easily lead to a major test of prices below this low. Now, do we come down here and reject and bounce right back up, or do we start to actually see expansion? And that's where the key range targets will give us a pretty good roadmap as to the levels to watch. Then the first big level to watch for a bounce would be about 13,130 here. A drop into that level could give us an initial bounce. Otherwise, a failure to hold that level starts to open up the 50 and even as low as the 100% extensions. We still have the previous year's low down here as well, and the fact that we are hanging around the midpoint of the previous year's range, and if we're failing here, all of this right here, this energy could lead to a move to that low right there, and that's going to be a major test to be in on once a failure or rejection occurs. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil, a couple of days ago, 95s, major rejection at that level, and on that day we mentioned that the top may be in, at least short term. The near term top may be in. We got very close to our 96.03 target, which we again called out last December. Right on that rejection day, we already had the key range that was likely going to be created with the extensions, and so far we've seen this thing play out tremendously. Now, one thing we talked about in the previous pre-market video is the 86 to 96 market structure level might be the playing field now. So once that high was in, that top, we could be looking at a move back toward 86, and at that point we could bounce right back up to 96 and trade in here. At some point, any failure of 86 opens up 76 down below and the next lowest market structure level. So right now on our way lower until we see some sort of bounce, perhaps off the 86 zone. All right, let's take a look now at Bitcoin. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general had quite a pullback in the previous session. This is one of the biggest down moves we've seen in a while. The size and magnitude of that range was in line with many of the other times where we've seen major selling pressure really push this market lower. And we're now testing a major 40,000 level. We're right on top of it, retesting the previous month's midpoint. And this is what I mentioned before, that now this is a very important retest. between 37.5 and 40K. If we can see a rejection in here, we may see a return back up, and that could ultimately lead to a further push to 52s, as we mentioned before. A failure here, a failure to find a higher low or some sort of retest being defended by bulls, anything short of that could open up a very hefty pullback here that could include taking out recent lows and taking out that previous year's low at 28,440. So right now we have a shot here for bulls to really assert a very important higher low pivot. Otherwise, a failure there could be tremendous moving forward. If we take a look at Ethereum here, the Ether futures showing very similar characteristics as well, only the Ether futures not as bearish at the moment, but it could turn quite bearish very quickly upon a break through 2750, 2700, or any pullback that is rejected, say above 2500, right? Any higher low in this zone could slingshot this thing back up toward 3600, 3700. So we're looking at potential 1000 point move here. But again, if there's a failure to hold here and we get a transition day down, that transition day down could mean more weakness up ahead, where we're testing the low of the year and testing prices here below that key range low. And again, anytime you're testing a key range low here, this would provide the best buying opportunity once rejection occurs, as we could see a move back across the range and then upward toward its 100% target. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the weekend. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And the next pre-market video will be available Tuesday morning. Take care, and I'll see you soon.